Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flaws, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
Hey guys, Bullhorn Betty here out in front of Latah County Courthouse this morning. We're hearing that Jason Kohberger is not going to fight extradition. We expect him to be back here as soon as January 3rd.
Jason Kohberger. That was the day that we found out that I thought it was Jason Ellis or Jason Ellison or something like that. I forgot about that. Anyways, thought it was funny.
Which is tomorrow. I'm here at the Latah County Courthouse because one, I've got a few things I've got to take care of inside this courthouse, but two, I wanted to show you where his court hearings will be proceeding when he returns back here to Idaho. It's right here. I have all the confidence in the world that this case is going to be moving forward in the right manner. We're learning today, as news reports are coming out, that law enforcement actually was tracking Kohberger for 28 days prior to his arrest. So he was definitely on law enforcement's radar. I came out early on and said that, you know, based upon the way law enforcement is acting, it appears that they have an idea of who may have committed this crime already, somebody that we're not looking at. I've said it multiple times on my live shows. I've said it multiple times on the videos that I've produced from the first trip as well as this trip. You know, there was a reason why they didn't want the reward. We discussed that at length on the show about how I thought law enforcement had already known who targeted those individuals inside the home. We are finding out today, sad enough, that, you know, there were some details that were provided to the public that were not actually correct. For example, they said that they have no connection with a stalker. That wasn't necessarily true. You know, we're finding out that BRYAN KOHBERGER in fact stalked one or more of the victims weeks leading up to this horrific crime. We're also learning that the make and model of the car was a 2015, not a 2011 to 2013. Was that just a mistake on their part, or were they trying to throw off the assailant that we now know to be BRYAN KOHBERGER? These are a lot of questions we have. We know that they had an integrity of the investigation to maintain. We know they still have the integrity of the investigation to maintain. We are still very thankful with the law enforcement and their law enforcement resources, from the state police to the FBI. We want to make sure that they get a big shout out. We do thank them for their hard work in getting this done in such record time. You're talking about 4 murders in an off-campus housing on November 13th. And by December 30th, we had the assailant in custody, and he is on his way back here to Idaho to face those very serious charges here in Moscow, Idaho, right here in Latah County Courthouse. Now, the question is his trial going to be here? We don't know that. That is up to the courts to decide based upon information provided by both the prosecution and the defense. Will the venue be changed? Are they going to move it to a different county within Idaho? Are they going to move it, you know, further north, further south? We don't know at this point.
Well, I guess I was looking into the future when I made that, because I already knew of a change of venue. I could just look at that courthouse, look at this case as it was that day, and knew that they did not have the facilities necessary to hold that very public trial in Latah County, or one of the Latah County courthouse or courtrooms. It was too tiny. Oh, thank you, Amy M. I missed a few people. Let me get this intro video done, and I will say hi to everybody.
But what I can tell you is, for the foreseeable future, all of his court hearings will be handled inside Latah County Court until that change of venue hearing is heard, if the defense so chooses to bring it up. I have to think, with a PhD criminology major, that they're going to be pulling out all the stops. I'm pretty sure he's a very smart person. He knows how to handle himself inside the courthouse. He knows how to handle himself with this specific case.
I just want say, I didn't know who the guy was. We had just learned of his name just like 24 hours before this. But again, this is why I say our batting average on this channel is very, very high. We were one of the first people, one of the first news, social media, whatever you want to call alternative media news sources that even brought up Washington State University. And it was December 1st that I noticed the Washington State University, and I dropped the video, I think, on December 1st or December 2nd. And based on the probable cause affidavit, we had learned that Bryan Kohberger was indeed found within the 24 hours right before that. It was just dumb luck that we came across Washington State University and ran the story.
Studied Ted Bundy. He studied under a famed author that's gotten into the minds of these serial killers, and it seems like this underbelly of society with these serial killers really got a hold of Bryan Kohberger and really drove him. I have a funny feeling we're going to find out that there was a manifesto related to this type of crime prior to him ever coming to school here. I just have that gut feeling. That is my opinion. That is not fact based on any information that we have acquired here in Moscow, Idaho. But we are out in front of Latah County Courthouse. I do have some business to conduct inside here, so I'm going to take care of that, guys. We're out here. Peace. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something, because an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. And hopefully somebody would have said something about this weird guy that had these horrible tendencies that ended up committing this horrific act.
I don't know if the dossier has been found, but it does look like I was very much accurate in my assessment that I believe Bryan Kohberger planned to do this before he ever even arrived into Pullman, Washington. Come to find out, that is what's being said by the prosecution. The knife was ordered before he ever even went to Washington State. What was surprising to me, and what you guys will hear, we're only going to listen to the first few minutes. I'm not going to bore you guys with listening to this exception of the plea deal over and over again. I know my audience. I love you guys, but I know you guys have watched it a million times. There's just a few things I need to point out. So we're going to watch about, I think, the first 5 or 6 minutes of this. And it's just the instructions of this judge, because I've got a lot to talk about related to this judge, so I can educate my audience, so you guys aren't out there, thinking this judge is a bad guy. Okay, I don't want that to be ever. If I see a bad judge, you guys know, just like law enforcement, if I see a bad law enforcement officer, I'm going to tell you. I'm not keeping that stuff in. I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous for our society. I'm going to point it out as much as I can when it happens. But in the same sense, I also want to point out the good work that people do as well. And I don't want to get sucked into, just taking somebody else's assessment and driving that narrative, because I do not agree with the full assessment of the interview room. And we're going to go over all of that today related to Bryan Kohberger and this plea deal. I've got a unique perspective. I was out there. I did 2 tours out there. I was not there for the demolition of the house, but Olivia was there. She was sharing with me photos and constant communication while she was there. It was just a somber, sad day that day. Had I had the budget or the funds, I would have personally been there myself. I did not. We had to miss that, just like we were going to have to miss the trial, which we don't have anymore. Okay, so before we get started on all this, want to give a big shout out to everybody that came in and is coming in to see the show. Good morning, Melanie. It's nice to see you. I got to meet Melanie. She is a doll, and my dog loves her toys. She has been playing with the toys since I pulled them out of the bag. So thank you. You hit a home run with Delilah. Delilah appreciates it. Thank you. It's nice to see you, my love. I hope you are having a wonderful day. We got the Real Me Too up in the house. It's nice to see you, the Real Me Too. Everybody, I do want to say happy 4th of July to everybody here. And before we get kind of started, I would like to, say a few things today as we gather. And we're not here just gathering to celebrate a date on a calendar, but to honor a spirit, an enduring, unbreakable spirit that was born on July 4th, 1776. 249 years ago, ordinary men and women dared to dream of something extraordinary, a free and independent nation where liberty would not be granted by a king, but inherited by the people. They stood up against tyranny, risked everything they had, and ignited the flame of freedom that still burns bright in all of our hearts today. Independence Day is more than fireworks and parades. It's a remembrance of sacrifice, of the soldiers who laid down their lives on battlefields near and far, of the families who said goodbye to loved ones so we could say hello to freedom. It's a reflection of courage, of civil rights leaders who marched, spoke, and bled for American promise to reach every man, woman, and child. It's a day of gratitude for those who still wear the uniform protecting our freedoms here and around the world. But most importantly, this day is a call for each of us, a call to remember what America stands for: liberty, equality, justice, and the belief of many that we are one. So as we raise our flags high, let's also raise our voices for those who can't. Let us teach our children the value of sacrifice, the meaning of responsibility, and the power of unity. Let us stand not just as proud citizens of a nation, but as active stewards of its ideals. May we never take this freedom for granted, and may we always remember the price paid for it. Happy 4th of July to each and every one of you today. So God bless you guys. I do appreciate you giving me a few moments of your time to wish you all and anybody that may see this video in the future a happy 4th of July. Now, we are going to continue, so I can say good morning to everybody, but Sonia did bring up one very key piece of information that we must play before we get started on the serious, so we will get and go over our crotch watch. If you've never been here for crotch watch, stick around. You might learn something. I'm just saying. So good morning, Sonia. It's nice to see you, love bug. Melanie, I think I said hi to you. Dawn. Oh, Tina, it's nice to see you, love. Denise, good morning. Happy birthday, America, she says. Gigi for life up in the house. Hello, my loves. Linda, good morning, Linda. Who else do we have? There's Robin. Good morning. Aw, Melanie hitting off with happy 4th. Betty, Delilah, mods in chat. I hope everyone is doing well. Love to all. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I just accidentally went up too high. Sonny says, even though I don't think he deserves to be breathing, there was no guarantee he would have been convicted. And if he was, it would have taken 30 or more years to face the squad. Yeah, I agree. We're going to get into that. I have some, I might surprise some people with my opinion on this, but, I'm kind of, I don't want to, just like last night, I have a habit of when I start, I go in. What the hell just happened? What in the flipping? Yep. I don't know what just happened. I just started hearing this feedback and I took my earpiece out. It's coming from my phone all of a sudden. Just boop. It just wants to start playing on my phone. Didn't even touch it. Haven't even touched the phone. Weird. Amy, it's nice to see you. But I have a habit of going off and, I start talking and then I go and tell the whole story before we get there. And then it ruins the whole show. No, it doesn't. Sonia, thank you, my love. God bless you. You need to be probably using that for another pill to pop or something. I can't even imagine. That probably sounded awful. I didn't mean for it to come out like that, but I'm just saying. I know what kind of surgery you got a horrible back. Horrible. I can't imagine. But at least you're upright. We see you in here. It's nice to see you back. I hope you're feeling a little better. I hope the pain is finally subsiding. Good gracious. I feel so bad. We're all just becoming little guinea pigs for slicing and dicing. Our bodies are falling apart. If your body is falling apart, say, hey. No, just keep it to yourself. We don't need to give the hate channels anything to work with. They might start sending ninjas. Instead of just mean words. Oh, Southern. Yeah, I know. My heart's broken for all the families. And I'm going to try to be very respectful because I have just all types of opinions about this. Who else do we have? We have Kathleen, Outer Banks, Chastity. Good morning, ladies. Sandra, hello, my love. D Real is up in the house. Rhonda, good morning. Who else do we have? Danielle, West Virginia Holler Girl. It's nice to see you. Big Mac Mike up in the house. Hey. VA Chaos. It's nice to see you, ladies. Oh, Lady O, it's great to see you. Faye, good morning. I'm going the wrong way. Aw, thank you, Amy M. Pete is up in the house. It's nice to see you, my love. KY, it's nice to see you. Good morning. Z, Callie, hopefully I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Good morning. And for the rest, thank you, Amy M. SRK, Joni, it's nice to see you. Southern, it's nice to see you. Thank you, B. Betty fan. Angel, it's nice to see you. I saw Patty. Angie, S, Angel, Southern. If I missed you, I will catch you as you guys write, and I'm sorry if I missed you. But good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. I have to put something else on because Sonia's making me do it. I got to figure out which one's which. Hold on. It's this one right here. Here it is. I have found it. Okay. We will share it. We will share the tab. All right. We got so much heat for this, and I don't care. We did a contest. We did a contest on Crotch Watch. We had people put together the thumbnails, the funniest Crotch Watch thumbnails. And I can't remember who won, but somebody won $25 gift card. And we got so much heat from, the hate channels for it. I didn't care. I still don't. You know what? I'm going to do whatever the heck I want on my show. That's just how there is. They could talk their trash on their channels. I don't care. You know what? We are liberated on this channel. We are free to have fun and talk about crime. We're free to laugh 1 minute and cry another minute. We're okay to laugh 1 minute and be angry and start spitting nails the next minute. We're allowed to do that. I can prove it. Courts have been agreeing. I have a right to do it, so we're going to do it, and we're going to continue to do it. And you know what? And the next time, we're going to even make it funnier thumbnails. The next case, when we have something as ridiculous as taking cameras off somebody's crotch when no cameras are on their crotch, when we have defense acting like that, oh yes, we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it. We're going to do it with our hell eye. Jules, thank you, love. If you guys don't know, you guys will be finding out very soon. I'm editing videos as we go, and I just dropped a video on TikTok. Jules was the one that came out with the dogs that helped me locate the area where we found dump site number 1 to be. And this is where Vinnie Harp was out there off of Shade Mountain. I spent an hour the day before looking at this one area, and come to find out it was a little further up the road where he actually was. So we did get there. We did look at it. We got a good understanding of what happened. So big shout out to Jules and Ara. I want to say Ara, and I know I even had her tell me the name a couple times, and I still struggle with Ara. Ara was just a doll, just an absolute doll, and gave me lots of kisses. So I know I'm a BFF. I know she's not going to attack me, but she might if I had one of those little suits on. Actually, you know what? The next time I'm in, because I know Nick's gonna wussy out. We won't say that publicly. I don't want to be mean to Nick, because I love Nick to death. But I think Nick will wussy out. I want to get in this suit. I want to be slung around like a rag doll by one of your dogs, and I want to record it. I think that would be great content. I'm probably going to hurt myself a little bit. I'm okay. Okay. It couldn't be any worse than being out in the woods. Okay. Olivia, she never pays attention. She's got a camera in her hand. She smacks me in the face with freaking, she pushes, the leaves, and she forgets that when you push them forward, they come back. And I'm sitting right behind her. And I'm like, damn, Olivia. Oh, she's so sweet. I'm sorry, No, she has this high-pitched thing. I'm sorry. That's more like Olivia. I'm sorry. So anyways, at least Jules didn't do that to me, she neither did Ara. I do it. Smack. You can smack me next time. Ara. Neither did Ara. And, it was good. Guys, I can tell you, she wasn't drug in there off the road very far at all. I mean, somebody was saying he was in there 200 feet. He wasn't. How far do you think that was off the road? I mean, it was like 10 feet, 10 or 20 feet. And he may have drug her another 20 feet or 30 feet. But where his car was, he couldn't go anywhere. It looks like he went up. It looks like he got in there fine. It looks like after he did his business and went to back up, that's when it was like, oh crap. Yeah, Era literally was laying down in the back until we got close and she started really getting unsettled. She did. Yeah, she started getting very, very unsettled. I wasn't watching what she was doing. You could hear it because she's got, the vest and stuff on and it in her collar and it all makes noise. So you don't hear any noise. And then you start hearing all this metal clanking, and it's like you can hear her kind of dancing back there. It wasn't more than 200 feet. I can see anything back. I can't see anything back there. Yeah. But I mean, when he pulled that truck in, even where he pulled his truck in, he didn't pull his truck in very far into that. And you couldn't even see it from the road. Even when I was looking for it, I was looking at a completely different disturbed area. I mean, it wasn't that far down the road, but it definitely wasn't in the area. I spent like an hour taking pictures of all these tread marks the day before I get there. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't it. And so I'm like, we're backing up, pulling forward, backing up. But we knew we were kind of in the right area because it was a long way down this Shade Mountain. And so the dog was fine. But once you got kind of in this area, that you could hear the clanking of the unsettlement in the back seat. So very interesting. I had never seen anything done like that. And of course, we had the elements we were working with that had been raiding there. When she was dumped out there, it was on the 20th, and she was only dumped out there for several hours. By that evening, on the 20th, she was scooped back up and taken to a different location, which was where she ultimately was found. So anyways, getting back to Bryan Kohberger and all of our chats about Bryan Kohberger, this right here, Sonia's making me do. Oh, hey, Jen, cuss jar. It's no longer a cuss jar. I just want you guys to understand this. This is what Sonia brought into church. Okay. We're in a church, okay? And, you know, we're there for a service. And she brings this, and it says no swearing on this bucket, okay? In a church. In a church. Robin was there. She saw it. she saw the whole thing go down. So did SPED teacher, Judy. Who else came out there? We had Sheena. Or Shayna. Walking in here, and I'm like, oh, dear Lord, what is that for? What is that for, dear Lord? I'm sure the preacher was raising some eyebrows at me in church because she handed it to me right in front of everybody. She wasn't even trying to be discreet. I'm just saying. We got a lot of work to do, y'all. We got a lot of work to do. I'm just saying. I think she's trying to tell me. I mean, we upgraded. Let me just give you guys a perspective. All right. This is the original. This here's the original, okay? This is the original cuss jar, okay? You see the difference here? I just want to put this in perspective, okay? I know it's getting hard to get the camera just right on these, but I just want to put it in perspective. I don't know what kind of message she's giving me here. I would have thought that she would have started trying to reduce the size of the bucket instead of making the bucket bigger. I mean, that just, you know, for somebody like me, that just implies that I'm not doing it enough. That just implies I'm not doing it enough. I wish I had a beep, beep, beep button. You know, the button that sounds like you're cussing, so I could just, you know, start beeping the button. All right. We're done. All right, let's get to work. Today's a day. We don't have time to be killing, Betty. Oh, we need to laugh so we can start crying. In this case, you know, I'm very emotional when it comes to the BRYAN KOHBERGER case. Very emotional. We were out. All right, I don't know why my bandwidth on this particular video just dropped, but it did. So we'll just keep going through it. Hopefully you guys can see it clear. Out there, you know, we had an opportunity to really get to know the victims of this by the work that we did. And so this case I really take seriously. But there are just some things that I'm just like, you've got to be joking. Like, you have got to be stinking joking me. Are you joking me right now? So BRYAN KOHBERGER's claims media are focusing on his crotch. I can promise you. They're probably taking the cameras off your face because you've been complaining about it being in your face. And there's only so many things that they can focus on. Just saying. I doubt your crotch is newsworthy at all. So Nancy Taylor, Jay Logsdon, BRYAN KOHBERGER. Really? You got nothing we want to see, babe. I can assure you that. That's probably why you're in the position you're in, Mr. KOHBERGER. Like, none of us, and I mean none of us, want to see that. For the love of everything that is holy out there in the world, where would you like them to focus the camera? I mean, how picky are we going to be about this? So it's focusing primarily on his face. Now it's not that. Now I guess all these thumbnails out there on the streets of YouTube and abroad must be, you know, having these crash shots. The people here on social media, we don't care about his crotch. Maybe I need to become a content creator and quit my day job.
BRYAN KOHBERGER recently argued that cameras in court are focusing too much on their client's crotch and should be removed from future hearings, including a claim that some cameras have been targeting his fly. Mr. KOHBERGER is entitled to defend himself against capital criminal charges without cameras focused on his fly.
How can you keep a straight face?
Social media post that appears at page 3 of his motion. No photographs or camera coverage focused on Mr. KOHBERGER's fly.
This is the funniest shit I have ever heard in a case in my life. OMG. I'm wondering if I should intervene in the court hearing.
But should we be intervening so we can focus on his crotch? Now, no matter what. Every time he walks in, our eyes are going to go directly to his crotch. He's going to walk in, watch. I guarantee it. We're going to be on crotch watch now. Crotchgate? Should we call it Crotchgate? Crotchgate 2023? We have to give props to mainstream media because I really don't know how they keep a straight face. We're going to be on crotch watch now.
Nothing to see over here. Nothing to see over here. Yes, we made fun of crotch watch and we enjoyed it. Okay. I don't hear anybody complaining in the back. Okay. That was in 2023. We were put through a meat grinder for us taking something that was absolutely ridiculous that was done by Ann C. Taylor, and we made a funny video about it. All right? We do absolutely 100% have the ability to be disobedient socially. And I'm sorry, they deserved it. Nobody was focusing on that man's crotch. All they wanted to do is to kick us back out of they kicked us as far out of a case I've ever seen in the history of America. And then they're trying to do everything they can to kick the one little photographer and pool cameraman that we've got in there. It's like, really? I was ready to go. If they were going to kick everybody out of that court, we were going to protest. I'm sorry. This is America. We are paying for all this crap. And damn it, I want to know. And quite frankly, I think the parents should have a right to know. And I think the parents should have had a right to know before the rest of America had the right to know. Just saying. That's just my personal viewpoints. But I digress. We don't need to get into Betty just yet. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. So now we're on this. I want you guys to hear what the judge is saying. This is important, okay? And this is exactly why I'm forcing you guys all to hear this, because I don't know how many people are playing this aspect of it. Are they playing the full plea hearing for you? I'm not going to play it for you. I'm playing just what I want to focus on that I don't see anybody else focusing on. So are other people doing the same thing and you guys aren't getting the full context? I'm pretty sure at this point, everybody has went and watched it for themselves. So again, I'm just going to point out the first 8 minutes of this case, and that's it. Just the first 8 minutes. It's 45 minutes long. I'm cutting it considerably in length because we have a lot to talk about and break down. Excuse me. Okay. Well, let me fast forward it just a little bit. I don't need to hear him shuffle paper.
Allow the state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz. Very well, thank you.
I don't need to hear.
First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being.
All right, I'm going to go back 5 seconds. This is where we're going to start. I need you guys to pay very close attention to what the judge is saying. This is super, super huge. We're going to focus on this for at least 15 minutes of this. The next 15 minutes is going to be focused on the judge and what he's saying, so you guys can all understand what he is saying. I want to make sure everybody is crystal clear, no pun intended, about this.
First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision making.
First thing is the attempt to influence his decision making. We did the same thing in Don Wells. But one thing I did is we did not call the judge, first and foremost. We mailed the judge. And I let you know that the judge is not going to read one letter that we mailed to him. I didn't want him to read. If he's a good judge, he will throw every single letter, or his clerk will throw every single letter into the trash. Okay, that's what they're supposed to do. So I had already forewarned my audience. We can't, that the judge, a good judge, is not going to entertain anything we wrote. But I was also psychologically swaying his demeanor, because even though he couldn't read any of those letters, I knew that him and his clerk would be talking about the level and volume of the letters that had to be thrown out. It didn't matter what they said. And then we did this one stamp, one letter, one piece of paper, one stamp, one envelope. One paper, one stamp, one envelope. That was our campaign. And a lot of people joined in from across the world. It was not a Tennessee thing. It was not this. But I would never, ever, ever try to reach out and speak to a judge or anything like that. Was what I did, not, of course you can do it. I mean, there's nothing illegal about doing that. What the judge does could be construed as illegal based upon his actions or her actions. For example, if a judge actually decides to open up the letters and read them and fail to recuse themselves if it's moved them in a different direction or a different sentencing, then they're in the wrong. What we're doing is basically a protest, a mail protest to a government office. It's completely legal and completely right. But and we were trying to make sure that he saw those, and we were trying to affect change in the judge's mind, so Don Wells did not get out or get a slap on the wrist or get probation. So we did it, and is it appropriate? Is it inappropriate? I don't know. I guess it's up to the people, right? I don't think it's appropriate calling a judge's office. I don't think it's appropriate trying to email the judge or the clerk. I think if you are going to demonstrate, it should be by mail, right? Because everything's covered. There's not one little thing that they could possibly review by accident unless they physically opened the letter. Okay? So there's reasons for my madness and why I did the demonstration that I campaigned, and we did get thousands of people from across the world, thousands of thousands that mailed these letters. But we didn't, I don't feel like we crossed that line of trying to actually reach out to the judge or reach out to the judge's family or, threaten the judge or, do all those things. But did we do a protest demonstration by mail? Yeah, we did. Was it appropriate? Was it inappropriate? It wasn't unlawful. And we all felt that Don Wells got away with something. This I don't agree with. But, some people may look at it and say, well, look what Betty did. Betty did this. And look what Cato did in my court hearing, right? That was full disruption, where a judge truly had to recuse himself. Probably shouldn't have opened those emails. Just saying. That was highly inappropriate. We do things above board here. Everything that we do is lawful and legal, and we definitely don't commit felonies and obstruction in a court proceeding. And it might be a high misdemeanor, but either way, it's still a crime. We don't do that. We don't engage in that crap. So if people are engaging in it, stop. And you guys are going to know I'm going to sit there and call out the free BRYAN KOHBERGER dum-dums. Okay? What you guys did, I don't care. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to drop the mic and I'm going to be done with it on here on YouTube. And I'm not going to say any more about it. I've watched these people that used to attack me like Jules and all these other things, not Jules, the dog handler, that Jules, that skinhead looking chick. I've watched these people dog this family, take their freaking Facebook group down. And they were wrong because they're too stupid to see the forest for the trees. They're too dumb to think. And what they did to the Gonzalez family, they can kiss my breath. I had never, in the history of being on this platform, ever done anything like that to a grieving family. I got Don Wells kicked off one job. He wasn't fired. And he shouldn't have had me running all over the state of Tennessee, going to this place and that place, while he was sitting there playing me for a fool, running me around like a chicken. he got what he deserved for doing what he did. And never mind the fact that he's still looking pretty damn guilty. And then you got these asshats that are sitting here being nasty to a family that lost their child, that had their child, had to look at their bodies with stab wounds in it. And you are saying disgusting, deplorable things about them, Jules, and the rest of your freaking crew and all the asshats out there that don't know how to look at evidence and don't have any idea what the fuck physical evidence is versus circumstantial evidence is. You, my friend, need to shut your pie hole. Look at all the misinformation and disinformation you did, and look at the pain you caused real victims. Real victims. Real victims. Y'all did that. You want to talk about me? Go ahead. I ain't did that. I've never done that. What you guys did to the Gonzalez family is disgusting, deplorable, and sickening. You need Jesus. Come to church with me on Sunday. It might help you. You guys were wrong. I've been telling you, you've been listening to these wrong asshats for years. You're supporting people that hurt real families, while they criticize the people out here trying to do right and trying to destroy even more people because they're trying to cover their own idiot asses. It's disgusting. All you free Bryan Kohberger people, wake the F up. How did you get it so wrong? Maybe you need to go back and examine your education level first and foremost, your common sense, your problem solving, and then try not to do it again. Let's try not to destroy the next family. So funny that you destroyed them. You destroyed Layla's mom. You tried to destroy Seth. Man, you guys are hitting it out of the park with destroying innocent families. Wow. Wow. Now, I'm done with y'all. Now that the whole world sees who the fucking idiots are on these YouTube streets, now you guys know. Because you hurt people. You hurt people. A mom lost her blessed daughter, and you had her memorial page shut down. What in the ever-loving you-know-what kind of people does that? You need Jesus. You need Jesus. That was despicable. My heart bleeds for those families. And trust me, I really don't have a whole lot of respect for all the families involved. But you don't hear me publicly stating that. You don't hear me publicly stating that. Maybe one day I will. A time and a place. But I absolutely support what the Gonzalez, the Mogan family, and the Kernodle family are going through. And their frustration in all of this. And then you have these asshats that want to cause chaos in a case to free a monster. They need to sit down. I'm tired of dealing with them. They're idiots. This was a no-brainer case, and if they still couldn't get this, that's how stupid these content creators are. Absolutely stupid. And they create their own narrative. They're illusionists. They're illusionists. Look at all the illusions they put before you to make you actually believe this monster was innocent. They're very, very clever and very, very creative, and you guys are stupid for following it and listening to it. Not my people. My people are smart because we educate them, just like I'm about to educate them on this. So let's go ahead and listen. Now that we got my drop the mic and my one and done out of the way, let's move on because they're not worth our time anymore. I just like to point out the obvious, right? Because they wanted to sit there for 5 years saying that I'm the problem. Boy, like I said, illusionists.
Making in this case. This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims.
I'm having some bandwidth issues that are just trying to frustrate the ever-loving snot out of me. But we'll keep going. Hopefully it clears up. I might have to refresh. I don't know what's going on.
To have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will, make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period. I have not read any of the numerous messages.
Are you guys seeing this okay? Can somebody let me know? I'll wait just a few moments to find out, but if somebody can let me know whether it's coming in clear, because I'll refresh if need be, but it's showing I have no bandwidth on my end. So I want to make sure you guys are seeing it. Maybe it's just a StreamYard thing on my back end. I'm hoping. Shouldn't, but I have a funny feeling you guys are pixely. It's clear? It's clear. Okay, then I'll keep rolling.
Nor listen to.
It's blurry on clear here. So let me just keep seeing. It's great. Okay, then I'll keep going.
Any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff, those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement. I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this, because, again, it is not appropriate and, frankly, not something I would take into account.
I don't know what he's talking about, information. That was interesting that he said information, more information. We didn't do anything but say to give, Don Wells the max. It was just basically a public outcry to give him the max sentence on the, violation probation of the DUI. And it wasn't sending them any evidence or anything to review or anything like that. And actually, in fairness, there are mechanisms in a court of law to intervene to do things like that. So you don't need to, if you have things, you didn't need to send them to the judge. There is a legal mechanism to get those entered before the court.
When deciding a matter in a case like this, I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers.
Okay, now this is kind of where I should have came into the case. This is the important stuff, but I'm glad we got to clear up some of the stuff that I just heard and stopped for. But now we're going to hear about the judge, this separation of power, this plea deal, all of this stuff. Hey, Pussy Willow Pendercat, it's nice to see you. All this stuff, because I think it's important to understand, and he's going to explain it, but I'm going to, because it for normal people, like I think it's crystal clear, but I understand that it's not to people that don't understand the law. So I'm going to try to put this in layman's terms for you, very simply, very crystal clear for you. Again, no pun intended, but I just want you guys to understand, because I don't want you blaming this judge. This judge, despite what many think, they think that he has the ability to stop this plea deal. And we're going to go over let me let him talk, and then I'm going to explain it to you.
What the court's duties are, and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue.
You hear that? The sole. So the prosecuting attorney. Now, many people in our counties, listen to this, don't investigate our state attorneys. We go for the popular person. Okay? They are the sole person that makes decisions over what protects us. So if you're not doing your due diligence, and it doesn't matter, I'm not going to say right, left, or anything down the middle, independent, whatever. We're not getting into the political talk specifically. But I will tell you, it's definitely a a campaign you are going to want to pay attention to if you care about your safety. It's not just about the sheriff. We've watched it with the guy down the road that unalived his mother in the trailer that literally a half a mile from me. My sheriff did everything right. He built the case. He could have sent this guy away for years and saved his mom. And you know what? It's handed over to the prosecution, and the prosecution made a plea deal that sent him to a halfway house for 6 months. Well, he broke out of the halfway house and went over and unalived his mother and her boyfriend. Just that quickly. He was arrested for it. My sheriff, Rick Wells, and his staff did everything they could to protect our county from this animal. And we sent him to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor lets him walk out with no real supervision. So when you start listening to it's time to vote for your district attorney for your county, do your homework. Because it doesn't matter how tough on crime your sheriff is if the prosecutor is going to make the plea deal and let them walk. So you need a tough on crime sheriff, and you need a tough on crime prosecutor. So that is very important. We're here because we're sick of crime, right? Well, we have to do for us as well. So it's educating ourselves that these positions are of importance and we need to take notice of them. We need to do our due diligence. How many times has this guy that you're about to vote for, let a bad guy walk? Look into his record. Look into his record.
Including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited.
Okay. You guys heard that? So what he is telling us here is that the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, is the sole person that makes the decisions on what to charge, whether to seek the death penalty, and that this judge's discretion over any plea deal is narrowly focused on very small things. That means he cannot, if they do everything that they're supposed to do within the statute for a plea deal, the families can't do crap about it. The judge can't do crap about it. Nobody can do crap about it. The sole person for that decision, the sole person, is Bill Thompson. There's nothing the judge can do. And you can see, you're going to find out the judge was also blindsided by this. He's been preparing for trial. Everybody was blindsided by this. I agree. We're going to get over to the interview room here in just a second. But I agree with a lot of things that the interview room has said about this case, with the exception of his criticism of law enforcement. And I understand that he is law enforcement. He would know better than anybody. But he's basing his criticism on law enforcement based on seeing a glove at the scene. I don't know how long Chris McDonough was there. Was he there for a few days? Was he there just, to see it for a day, a couple days, a week? I don't know how long Chris McDonough was there. And I'm glad and always honored to hear, especially if he's gotten to, been able to go on a scene and have a perspective that none of us would ever be able to have otherwise. He gets those perspectives. So I don't want to take away, his role, his know-how, his experience, because I rely on a lot of that as well. It's just that respectfully, I have a different perspective that I don't agree with it when it comes to law enforcement, because I was there for weeks. I watched law enforcement working. I watched them going through and processing the house. I watched them campaign an amazing um, public information campaign to keep us occupied with fresh information, so it limited the amount of speculation that the public, especially content creators, could do in the case. I thought their strategy for communication with the public was brilliant. I'm not going to change that. I thought that, we expect to have mistakes in these cases, and Chris McDonough has done an amazing job, and has experience with 300 different homicides, from my understanding, that he's been a party to, and probably the number is going up on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, because I know that he helps other law enforcement departments around the country. And again, that's why I want to respectfully disagree with him, because I love his work. I will continue to watch him. I will continue to go to him for perspective and his experience and his know-how and stuff like that. But when it comes to this law enforcement body, I just don't agree with him. Now, everything that could they have improved something? Could they have done better? Could they have, done things more methodically, like if they handled more murders? Yeah, of course we would like that. But you're dealing with a small outfit here. And I thought their execution, without experience, the kind of experience that, say, Chris McDonough comes with, was amazing. They got the job done with limited mistakes, critical mistakes, and that's what we want. I always talk about law enforcement not being, superhumans. They're human beings that make mistakes just like we do. We go to work every day and we make mistakes on our own work. How can we expect another human being to be more perfect than we are when we try our ass off not to make a mistake, yet we make a mistake? Because we're human beings. We're not perfect individuals, and neither are law enforcement officers. Like I always say, we just pray to God that whatever law enforcement, mistakes are made, are not so critical that it would let a suspect walk, right? And so that's where we're going in it. So could they have done improvements? I'm sure they could have. But they have to work. I mean, they have to work with what they've got. They have to spend their resources and their funds on, things that can help them solve this case. Listen, they got the job done in record time. So I can't, even if they did make some mistakes, I can't blame law enforcement here. But now we're going to go over to the interview room, because I think it's important, because now we're going to start hearing some of Chris McDonough's experience in this, and his wife. I did not know his wife was a investigative journalist. I learned stuff new, because I watch Chris McDonough when I need to watch him on specific topics that are mimic some of the topics I want, if I need to do some research and stuff like that. Oh, give me just a second. It was the BFF, if everybody wants to know, why is she taking a call on July 4th? Because I got plans. This is not like everything I'm doing today. I'm like, social Betty now. We got a social Betty. right? Starting to crawl out of my cocoon I've suffocated myself in for the last 2 years. We're getting out and about. It's the 4th of July. I'm going out to have a cookout, you know. Last 4th of July, I don't know. I think I was in bed probably sucking on my pacifier trying not to cry. Well, this year's a little bit different. You know, the birds are chirping. Sky, I'd say it was rain and blue skies, but we all know that's a lie, right? We just heard the thunder, so we know we got gray skies and rain. But hey, if you can't go dance in the rain, well, you know what? You just can't have fun, okay? I'm sorry. Sometimes you just gotta go dance in that rain. If you get struck by lightning, well, you know. I guess you lit it up. I guess you really were the firework going out. Heaven for me. You have some fun. I know. So I do have a life, but it's still a boring life. It's like, it's me and my girls, like, we do flower power this day and age, right? It's the no boys allowed camp. So sorry all you guys out there. Me and my crew, we have a big old sign that says no guys allowed. It's a bunch of old women yapping about men while men are yapping about the weather. Imagine that. Okay. All right. Let's get back to work.
Public. You know, the public didn't know about the 15th or all the photographs of Bundy until Dateline did it. And here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. When the gag order is lifted,
listen,
and the media goes in and does their job, Thompson's going to look like a fool for not telling the public or the families what the truth was.
That I have to say, you know what? I don't like this, you know? I feel like we have a situation where, you know, even Chris McDonough is criticizing law enforcement, where I'm not, okay? And I'm not going to, because I've held Moscow up on a semi-pedestal for how they handled their case. So I obviously believe I've been passionate about their handling of this case. Like I said, it's not perfect. I don't expect it to be perfect, but by far some of the best that I've seen for me as a content creator, right? I'm not looking at it from a perspective of a detective. I'm looking at it from my perspective. And were they able to get the information without screwing up the case? Were they able to, navigate the process without, doing something that was going to critically injure this case? There's just, I look at other things. I'm not as meticulous as, okay, there's a glove there. Could it have been from BRYAN KOHBERGER? Yes. Could it have been from one of the original responding officers? Yes. Am I going to say, oh my gosh, this glove's here, nobody's picked it up, this case is in trouble? No, I'm not going to do that. Would he? Yes, because he's had experiences where one wrong thing has tanked a case and let a bad guy walk. So his experience and my experiences are much different. And you can see it in our opinions when it comes to law enforcement and their handling it. I think law enforcement did an amazing job. They had a very tough case. And I wish, maybe Chris could identify how incredibly difficult this was to navigate. And he's talking about, why would they put this, 2-year-old detective on this case? Well, you know what? That 2-year-old detective, like every detective, like even Chris McDonough, they had to have their first case. Okay? Period. They have to have their first case. And at the end of the day, this very young green detective, well, we do have a man behind bars that did just plead guilty. So again, I don't want to take away the good work that they did, the amazing help that they gave people like me to explain this case without, we never accused. We talked about some of the people in the sense. The only thing that I think, I guess, would probably be rough for me was Dylan Morton. Mortensen. I think Dylan Mortensen is, I felt bad for having to run some stories on her, but you still have to run the stories. At the end of the day, many people were talking. If she called 911 earlier, could the kids have survived? We don't know. I know today that no matter what time they would have called, they would have all lost their life. But many people wanted to know what they were doing. Were they on substances or other things? So, we had those conversations. They weren't nice conversations. And I very well made sure that our audience knew. And if you don't believe me, go back and fact find me. Do not reach out to these people. Do not call. This is what we have these forums for. This is why we have our chats, is so that you can come in here and you can trash the crap out of somebody you don't like in here to vent it out, so you're not on their pages, their personal pages, calling them these horrible names. I don't agree with that. We keep it here for you guys to let some of that stuff out. I don't think that if you don't have a relationship with them, unless you're inquiring, there's cases where we have missing people and strangers that don't have content, that are just trying to search, do what they can from home, may reach out and have a question and stuff like that. That I'm perfectly fine with. I think that's perfectly fine. But, it's really all the other person's appetite, whether they're willing to do that. We're in news, and for me, if it's public and it's breaking, I'm going to run it. I'm sorry. That's my job. So even when it came down to Brian Enton broke the plea deal. He got wind of it, just like I did with the Michael Monkey Vaughn case. We found out somebody was arrested for failing to report a corpse. I was the first one that brought Stacy and Sarah Wandra's name to the public, and I got crucified for that. So it doesn't really matter. I don't care if I'm going to get crucified. This is my job. We bring breaking news. If I have the ability to break a story, I will break it. And again, it's sad. I felt bad. I still feel bad for Dylan and Bethany. And I think people, I think sometimes people don't think about them and what they're going through with all this. I mean, they were just hanging out with their friends. They love their friends. They woke up one day to all their friends being wiped off the face of the earth. I mean, I can't imagine how that must feel. I can't imagine. And then to have, people like me talking about them, going through their life, it was probably very uncomfortable. So let's get back to Chris McDonough and what he's going to be saying here. But so far, I agree with everything he's saying here so far. Again, the only thing, that's why I said I agree with Chris McDonough in part, because there's just some things I disagree with him on respectfully. And so I'm going to explain those, but you can hear both perspectives here.
And also,
Go ahead. Karen.
sorry, go ahead. Well, along those lines, where was the outrage? I didn't hear outrage. I didn't hear passion from a prosecutor about the heinousness of 4 young, vibrant people whose lives were taken.
And this is my problem. Again, agree. Bill Thompson crapped on this family. He crapped on the community. I agree. This is one thing I do agree wholeheartedly. There is no way the university should have had as much of their hands in this case as they did. I did not know that. I absolutely 100% agree with Chris McDonough. But again, it was a university, we do public partner stuff. And even in law, they have subcontractors for different things that they may hire a subcontractor that may have the skills or the prerequisites that they do not have, like say maybe a rove machine. They may hire a subcontractor to check an area for them because they don't have the type of equipment, or the equipment's not readily available at another local county that can be brought in or something like that. So even Chris McDonough has been, he's not part of these law enforcement bodies when he goes out on these scenes. Sorry, guys, I got a piece of hair that's just falling in my eyes and it's driving me nuts. And, but he goes out there. So it's kind of the same theory there. But long story short, they just don't believe that Bill Thompson should have done this way. They say that this was basically amateur hour. I have to agree. Bill Thompson didn't want to deal with the family. It's his freaking job. Okay, he gets paid a lot of flipping money from that county. A lot of money. A lot of taxpayer money to do his job and do it well. And he shit on these families. The only people that are happy with this are the Chapin family. Okay? And Ben Mogan. That's it. It seems to me that the Chapins, in all fairness, have had more hands in all of this. I think they're the ones that approached the university to tear down that house. They're the ones that want to clean this up and just get moved on. They're not taking into consideration to anybody else or any other victims there. None. But it is my understanding they're the ones that they're the reason the house was ultimately taken down. That's the sources that I've got. Because his brother and sister still went to that school, and it was hard for those two to continue to look at that house. So it was approached by the Chapin family for the demolition. That's what I heard. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard. So it's upsetting. And you know, Ben, I want to put this because I'm so sick of people screwing up the perspective. Because, you know, I feel we normal human beings try to make things sound good to justify certain things. And one thing I hate more than anything in the world is hearing somebody say, I want them to sit in jail for the rest of their life to think about what they did. They're not sitting in there beating themselves up for what they did. Let me put this in perspective. It's going to be grotesque, and I do apologize, but I think it needs to be said. How would Ben feel knowing that that guy, every time he thinks of what he did to his daughter, he gets a hard on? Or goes in the bathroom and relieves himself in pleasure? And he gets to do that every single time he thinks of this case. Do you think that that is punishment? Because I certainly don't. And these twisted, sick SOBs, do you think that they're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that? This guy here, maybe there is somebody that's in there doing that. But this guy here, he enjoyed what he did. And you want him to think about that the rest of his life? I don't get it. I get exactly why Steve wants his day in court. I agree with Steve wanting his day in court. And you know what? Even if this was, because we just heard from the judge that he has no control over this. Yeah, you need to think about it like that. The next time you want to have somebody sit in that jail cell for the rest of their life, you should really play that tape through and see what they're thinking about. Because this guy's a sick puppy. He's a sick puppy. He didn't seem like he was highly remorseful for his crime, did he? I don't know. I didn't see any remorse on his face. And for them to block the entire public out, a hearing and a case that cost the taxpayers, not just that county, the state and the feds, us, millions of dollars. And they blocked us out of everything and tried to put a big old bow tie in the dead of night and sneak this plea deal in and not give a crap about the input of any of the families. I feel like one family did have some input on it. At least one. Which I will be looking at that avenue. Because there's 4 families here. 4. Not 1. 4. And we don't even have half of them. Not even half. We have maybe a 25% agreement with Bill Thompson of the victims' families. He should have brought them in. He should have had balls and backbones to look that family in their face and resolve this issue and talk about the plea. That's That's what's supposed to happen. Can you imagine having your child slaughtered at a university, the university shit on them, and then the prosecution shit on them? Are we an anti-University of Idaho? You bet your butt we're an anti-University of Idaho. We will talk about this case forever and ever, amen. We were going to campaign against this. Hell, maybe we should start doing some blip boards around this country against the University of Idaho. Because they can't shut us all up. And in my opinion, the University of Idaho did a disservice to all 4 victims. The Moscow Police Department, in my opinion, did a great job. And the prosecution's office just stuck the knife in 10 times deeper. That's all they did. They never got justice. Bill Thompson is too blessed old for the fight. It's time to hang it up, Mr. Thompson, and retire. And if you guys keep this SOB in office up there in Moscow, Idaho, then you guys deserve it next time it happens to your daughter, because you know better. This was not justice. But I blame this not on law enforcement, but squarely on Bill Thompson. And that's exactly where the blame needs to be had. Not this judge, not Ancy Taylor and BRYAN KOHBERGER. I mean, BRYAN KOHBERGER is responsible for all of this. No allocution. He was a piss poor prosecuting attorney. Piss poor. Piss poor. And I agree with Chris McDonough here. You know what's going to happen? Media, we're going to get into it. On Monday, they're going to have a certified copy from the Bullhorn Betty channel. A spoliation letter. Don't be messing with the evidence. We'll be sending that out certified as well to Moscow, Idaho. We're going to be one of these crazy media people that want to know the truth. And you know what? If I find out that Bill Thompson, I'll be in front of his office with my sign. Right? I'll be in front of his office with my sign. So I don't know what's going on here, but everything that I've seen, everything I've heard online from the Gonzalez family and the other families, this was sad. They didn't deserve Bill treating them this way. They lost their children. They lost their children. What a piece of shit. Sorry, it needs to be said just like that. What a piece of crap. How do you do this to a family? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I have my personal viewpoints on it, and I'm sorry I'm getting a little graphic in my language, but I'm upset about this because these families have already been through so much, and then you add the asshats from this team Free BRYAN KOHBERGER because they're too stupid to know 2 + 2 = 4. Can't help them. Probably a product of our public education system. Just saying. Just saying. Not playing. I'm a product of our public education system, but I'm a product of good teachers, not social justice warriors. Just saying. My teachers weren't trying to turn me into a sex freak at 9 years old. Just saying.
Because Santa Claus started to cry towards
And
the
what,
end.
what
And
the heck was
tells you
that?
that tells you everything you need to know about how this prosecution was handled and why these families are so upset, because it was emotionally driven. So my question is, where did that emotion come from? He's a prosecutor for 30 years in Latah County, and guess what? The university, in my opinion, drove this narrative. right to the point where he can't even look at the world and say, by the way, he had all of this pee on his phone.
Yeah, they withheld all of that from the public because he is, an S deviant. And Bill Thompson went out of his way to try to imply that there was no sexual motivation here. We know that these types of people, whether they perform or not, is usually sexually motivated. I mean, he did have a smile on his face and a thumb up. What was he doing in the bathroom before that? What was he doing in the shower before he got out and took that photo? We don't know. But I can tell you statistically, there's a sexual component here. Shame on Bill all the way around. Shame on Bill all the way around with this case. I probably am going to do I'm going to go through my content. I'm having a hard time finding it. I've got it in 3 separate locations, so I got to condense all my data into one source so I can look at it and do a timeline. So I'm going to the poll right now. So people are asking, is this a good deal? Is this a good deal? I'm going to wait till I see it. Okay, so here it's finally popped up. So is this a good deal? 60% said no. 40% said yes. So I'm going to give you guys my perspective on this and why I'm middle of the road. I see why this is a great deal and I see why this is not a great deal. So let's go over to why I do believe this is a great deal. I think that this is a great deal because you know how I feel about appeals. I hate appeals. I like to have a pit bull for a defense attorney to limit the amount of appeals after conviction. This stops all the appeals. Okay. He's going to jail for life. I think this is good for the remaining victims, even though Christy and Steve don't feel like this was right by them, and I support them in their feelings of that. And I just want to say, but from an outsider looking in, it's hard to prepare a family for trial. Okay, it is one of the most brutal experiences you could ever go through. And I don't think, no matter how prepared they are to go in there and deal with that, no family, in my experience, is ever prepared. It is a grueling, it is a hard process. It is something horrible for the families. The things that they have to see, the things that they have to hear, the things that they have to witness, it's horrible. They also have other children. They also have grandchildren. So I'm looking at the whole from a bird's eye view. I'm not emotional into this. Am I emotional about this case? Yes, I am. But I don't have the heightened emotion of this being my family member and the loss and the grief and all of the things that go with that. I don't bear that. These families bear that. So with that being said, do I think this is a good deal in that respect? Yes, I do. However, that is not the only thing that should ever be the motivating factor. We have 4 families here. And clearly, there were a lot of them that wanted to see this to trial. There were a lot of them that wanted to know what happened to their children because just like the public, they were also blocked out. They know as much as we know. And that's pretty sad that this man is convicted, has pled guilty, is now convicted of these crimes, and this family still doesn't know what happened to their child. That is right directly on the front doorstep of Bill Thompson. There is nobody to blame in this situation from my perspective other than Bill Thompson, other than the prosecution's office. They had a case put together. I saw that probable cause affidavit, and when I read it from Brett Payne, and I looked at my audience and said, if 70 to 75% of this can be proven, he's done. They did their job. Law enforcement did their job. They did their job. They found the needle in the haystack and they brought him to justice, and justice shit on the victims. In part. In part. We don't want to take away that this is a life sentence. There's no guarantee that Bryan Kohberger would have gotten the death penalty. But from the perspective of these families, of the lack of consideration to them, the fact that Bill did not even give them the professional courtesy or just the courtesy of being parents of a child that was murdered in their alleged safe community. And you fail to even if they were going to yell and scream at him, you guys know he had the authority to do it, whether the parents agreed with it or not. It has nothing to do with them all coming to the same page. It's having the kahunas, the balls, and the integrity and the professionalism to deal with the consequences of your decision. And that means bringing that family in. And if you've got to be yelled at and called every flippin' name in the book, by God, that is your job. That is your job. I can tell you, these types of things would not happen in my community because people like me exist in my community. We would be making calls to the sheriff, to the DA. What in the hell do you think you are doing? Call this family. Bring the family into the conversation. But you know what? Our DAs, I'm sorry, in all fairness, they really just don't give a shit. So they'll call the people in because they don't give a shit. Ed Brodsky doesn't give a shit. But he still calls the families in and makes them sit there and tell them what he's going to do. Whether they're angry or not, at least he gives them FaceTime. At least he shows his face to the family. Don't have a lot to say about Ed Brodsky. A lot of good things to say about him anyways. I don't. But at least he has, if he's going to make a decision like this, he would have at least had the kahunas to bring the family in, sit down, and go out there and walk with them in solidarity. He would have at least acknowledged before the courts the families don't agree. He would have forced Bryan Kohberger to admit what he did for everybody to hear it and demand the knife. Where did he dump the knife? Bill Thompson gets a big old fat F minus. He's a coward. So do I think this is a good deal? I think this saves a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of pain. I know that the Gonsalveses are in pain, but I have to look at the whole situation. And do I understand that they wanted their day in court? I do, and I support that 100%. And I am sorry this asshole took that justice away from you. Interesting. So I wish things were handled differently. I wish the district attorney would have had a little more empathy for the families. All of them. Even the angry ones. Because he wasn't in their shoes. And I'm sorry, he was lucky he got Steve Gonsalves. Had it been one of my family members, this happened, I'm telling you, I'm not a violent person until it comes to my family. Until it comes to my family, and I am a flippin' animal. You don't ever want to see that side of me. It's not a pretty side. But I know I got a beast that lies waiting, right? Everybody does. Believe me. It's called fight or flight. If you haven't learned it, then you're lucky. That means you haven't been put in a position where you've had to know it or get to know it. So for those that have never had to know it or get to know it, God bless you. But for the few of us that have had been put in some terrible situations. But that's the one thing when it comes to my family. Anything else, I can deal with. And Olivia's part of my family because I was thinking about it. I'm like, Mom. I think I'm the only person Mom trusts with her by herself, but she knows that I would hurt somebody for if anybody tried to hurt Olivia. Like, yeah, I pity the fool. Pity the fool. I'm a wiry one. I'm like a little monkey. I'm like a little monkey. So at least I was in my 20s. I haven't had to stretch those types of muscles in a really long time because I'm good. I don't live the lifestyle. I don't have the problems I used to. I pray to God I never have to have the problems. But if I'm anything like I was in my 20s, I'd be worried. I'm just saying. I might be a little bit slower, but I think I got the moves. I think I got the moves. We'll find out. Well, one day, right? One day, I'm in a crazy business. Who knows? Who knows? I'm over here 1 minute. Boop. And that's why, if you guys notice, that's why I have my keys. If you notice anything about my keys, they're always around my neck. Those things right there, I've been doing that for years. If I can tell you anything about one of the most non-lethal weapons I've ever had in my life to defend myself, it's those keys around my neck. And trust me, I've had to yank them off and start flipping them around. And I tell you, you don't want to be whacked by the keys because they'll whack you. Get your butt back. But definitely without a doubt, it's just you don't realize you need to use it. Now it comes with pepper spray on those key rings, so I don't even have to swing it like a helicopter anymore. I just lift and spray. I'm getting too old for this crap. I got myself an easy spot button. It goes a-hole be gone spray. I'll never understand the DA not asking for every detail. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. That's how we all know that this was horrible. That's how we all know that Bill's the problem. In my opinion, that's how we know. Everything was proceeding. Everything was done. I'm sorry. Is there things that law enforcement could have done better? I agree with Chris McDonough. I always will say law enforcement could be better trained. They could do the things a lot better. They could do it this way. They could do it that way. I'm there with Chris McDonough on this, but I'm not this nitpicky because they got the job done. They got the job done. And it looked like the majority of the evidence that they uncovered, it was going into the case. Nancy Taylor had challenged the DNA, that she challenged the genetic genealogy. She challenged everything. All of that stuff that law enforcement did was coming into the case. They did their job. The way I'm looking at it, I think Chris, because he's a detective. He has his way of doing things, right? We can agree with that. I think that he didn't like some of the ways that they did the investigation because he wouldn't have done it that way. And he's a seasoned homicide detective. So I understand his perspective and I appreciate it, but I don't like law enforcement being punished because they got the job done. Okay. And their evidence was admitted. Like they went through protective orders, motions in limine, all types of stuff, motions to suppress. They did everything that the defense was supposed to do to try to challenge this stuff, to have it suppressed and tossed out where it couldn't even come into trial. And they got it all in. They got all the important stuff in. Law enforcement did their job. They did their job. Was that stuff going to be challenged? Were they going to start talking about, could it possibly been contaminated? The general stuff defense attorneys do. Yes, right? We saw James Griffin and Dick Hartpoolian up here, talking. Oh, you're so talking to a sergeant. Oh, so you're just the crime scene tape guy. Okay, gotcha. Really diminishing who they are, trying to make them feel small and insignificant and unimportant. That's the job of the defense attorney. They are to cause confusion. They are to bring in all these different things to cause confusion. So it's not a defined defense, or a defined argument. It just that's their job. So here we've got a situation where Chris McDonough doesn't like some of the investigative efforts done. He thought it was kind of Barney Fife, if you will. I might be putting names, words in his mouth, so to speak. But it just didn't seem like he was very good with the total investigation. Where me as a layperson, an average Joe, I'm fine. I believe they could use improvements. I believe anybody can use improvements. We're done with that argument. So it's up to you whether you like the work of the police. Listen, I think it was record time. Look at Summer Wells. We all know who's responsible in the Summer Wells. It's been 4 years, not closed, right? We've got Sebastian Rogers. We know what happened in that case. We know who's responsible in that case. It's been almost 2 years. Over a year and a half. Nothing. We got nothing. No arrests. With all these people involved, and then you go over to Moscow where you had no obvious person. They had literally had a whodunit, a needle in the haystack, and they brought it home in less than 45 days. No criticism from Bullhorn Betty, whatever, whatsoever. I say kudos. Thank you. Thank you for your service. That's what I say. So, anyways, you guys have a great day. Have an amazing 4th of July. We'll be back here if I can. I don't know how late I'm going to be out. I don't know if I'm going to stay for the fireworks or not. I got to go get my bathing suit on because I'm either swimming in the pool or I'm swimming down the road because it's raining. But it sounds like swimming is in my future for the day. So you guys have a great day. God bless you. Happy birthday, America. Oh, we got to sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, toot toot. Happy birthday to you, toot toot. Happy birthday, beautiful America. Happy birthday to you. That is a wrap. All right, thanks for being here, guys. Go make it a great day, and we'll see you real soon. Kind of, sort of. We'll find out. I don't know what my schedule is, but one day God's going to make it a clear path for me, and we're going to have it going.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims.